Well, here we are. That is correct. Another afternoon of human behavior. Well, I don't know if anyone's going to be here, but I will welcome you and let you know that it's a crazy semester, isn't it? Let you know that I'm very cognizant of some of the struggles that you all are having. I do understand that the remote world is different than a virtual world, and that too is different than the world of live class, clearly. So here we sit in week number, I don't know what week this is, 5 I think. So here we sit in week 5, and we're just now getting ready to kick it off. As you know, I hope, let me just say a couple things, housekeeping mostly, is that I posted an announcement on Sunday in Blackboard, right? Make sure you read through that really carefully, because that basically says everything, and it should clarify all the questions that you all had. Hey Sarah, what's happening? Go ahead and everyone check in, and let me just see who's here. But you know, if we take a look at last week, I mean, my blood pressure was just going through the roof, and the reason why we're having remote, even though they have started doing the live classes. Hello, Mary Alice. The reason why is because of my hey Michael. Hey, it's going pretty good. It's going pretty good. I've just about written 60 pages to the sequel to the book that I released last week. Risa, hello. So 60 pages in, I don't know, what's that, 7 or 8 days. That's pretty good. I'll take it. Sophia, good afternoon. I hope you all, have you all had any live classes yet this semester on campus? I'm just curious as to if it's smooth or if it's been kind of a challenge, or how you're doing with it. How's everything going with you all in the live classes? Hey Nicole, nice seeing you. No, none? Okay, all right. See, I kind of made some adjustments, as you'll see on Sunday, is that I know that a lot of classes are going to be live, and I know that if you have to be here, hey Rice, me either, no way. Not right now, because if I get coronavirus, I'm gone, you know what I'm saying? So I have to kind of protect myself. Oh, okay, you opted out. I think a lot of people are going to opt out. I mean, you know, I'm not in Miami, so I haven't been on campus to see what exactly is taking place, but what I understand is that there are some safety concerns among my colleagues, and given that, I just don't know if I would want to opt in. I probably wouldn't. I'd want to be safe again. Personally, this is just me speaking for the rest of the semester. And maybe in January go back in with a clear head and stuff, and make sure everything is back copacetic. However, I noticed that I read the numbers daily, and it looks like in Miami that it's slowed down quite a bit. But I know nationwide that we're seeing some surge, but in Miami we're not. I don't know if that's because of counting. I don't know exactly what's going on, but I think it would have been a little bit better had we just made a decision to keep going, to keep going remote, get through the semester, because it's hard to switch. You know what's so funny about that, Iradio? You're making a joke about have I written any cookbooks? I'm actually writing a cookbook. It's a cookbook based upon Mama Green's recipes. The problem with Mama Green's recipes, and this is where I can't reconcile, is they're not exactly the healthiest. You know, we use a lot of Crisco oil in our food, a lot of chicken grease, a lot of bacon grease, and our food was delicious, but it probably wasn't the most nutritious. Although we used to have 2 and 3 vegetables with every single meal, so I was definitely eating well that way. But man, you know, fried chicken and fried bread and fried this and fried that, fried okra, fried corn. I'll tell you, it's a wonder that I didn't come out of there weighing 200 and 300 and 400 pounds, you know, because everyone else in my family did except Daddy Green. Irma Jean weighed 350, Mama Green weighed 250, Mama Green's son Leo, he weighed about 250, 260, and then there was me. I weighed 60 pounds, but I out-ate all of them. So yeah, I'm working on a cookbook, Mr. Funny Man. So in any case, I've tried to be very cognizant of the fact that you're certainly under challenge this semester. And I want to just talk about the first couple of assignments. We're not going to go long because I've already posted a full lecture in your class for this week. It was with my other section of human behavior, and everything is pertinent to them is pertinent to you. I mean, it's all essentially the same. Materials the same, the assignment's the same, but I will talk about the assignment here in just a second. But in any case, go back and take a look at that. I do want you to know that I really respect the challenges that you have in front of you, because I think it's a difficult period. You know, these remote classes, we didn't have time, I'm sure some of them did, to actually construct within Blackboard a real class. I mean, that's really tough to do when you have 7, 8 classes. And so I've just chosen to go this way, where we have this kind of dialogue, and then I'll announce everything that you need in the announcement board, and then we email in the assignments. Now that has become a little bit, man, that's been tough, because most of you are putting down the title of the assignment, but those who aren't, it's been tough. And some of it, how did you find my Yahoo address? I don't even know how. Someone's sending their assignments to my Yahoo address, and it's just, it's either Sean.hopeworks or try to use Blackboard on the interior. I'll start grading next week, but I wouldn't worry about the first two assignments too much. I love the If Death Had a Face. I'm sure you found it interesting. That's the feedback I got in yesterday's class, is that it's a very interesting assignment. But really, it's a thought assignment, and it's really to unlock your brain and make you look at everyday life in just a completely different capacity. So that assignment was specifically designed for you to get up and think about something a lot differently. And you can check out the analysis. That's okay, Mary Alice, because it is in there, and if you go in there and watch it separately and you just put in a comment, then I'll be able to mark down that you were in there, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. But as we move forward, now the assignments are becoming quote-unquote more formal. And what you really need to do at this point, because those are just thought games. The Who Am I is a thought game. The assignment with Death Had a Face is a thought game. Now you're moving into analysis, and this is where I'll get more serious about grading. This is where I won't fall behind, because QEP1, your QEP1 paper on gun control, that is really where you have to break into the whole idea. Me Too. Dang, George, I don't even know which Me Too we're talking about. Oh, okay, from yesterday, okay. The gun control paper, now that's a formal paper, and I want it to be very analytical. I'm not really allowed to talk about it because it's a QEP paper, which means you're supposed to read the directions, and then you do what you're going to do. You're going to make out of it what you do. However, I'll go ahead and talk about it for a little bit. One of the things that is really important for you to do as you move forward is think about these papers from a conceptual perspective. And what exactly does that mean? And you're going to see that in the main lecture, we talk about conflict theory, functionalism, symbolic interaction, and we talk about how our cultural perspective shapes the way in which we see death. So that's going to be coming out in that particular video. So make sure you go watch it. It's in your announcement board. Watch the announcements, because that's where everything's going on. I'm mystified that I have students who are writing emails complaining to the president, the dean, my chair. I don't understand it, simply because everything that you need, it really is in the syllabus. And if it's not in the syllabus, it is confirmed in one of the announcements. And if that's not enough, I do talk about most of the stuff right here in, sorry about that. I talk about it right here in these videos. So I don't know, that means if you don't know what day to turn in your papers, then that means you're literally not paying attention to anything. You're not watching any of the videos, you're not watching any of the announcements, and you're certainly not looking at the syllabus. And there's not much I can do. And last week, with all the same questions, when's it due? When's the live stream? It blows my head up when we have these announcements over and over and over, and I continue to get, and my blood pressure went like this, and I was like, I got to a point where I thought I was going to have to check into the hospital, because I thought I was about to have another stroke, and for me, a third one could be deadly, and I just can't afford to have my stress level explode over something that is right there. Now, some things, there are some kind of questions that are that I really don't mind asking, and those questions are not APA stuff, man. Don't worry about that. Just do APA format. I'm looking for you to think. I'm looking for you to organize your thoughts, right? So when you go to write your paper, make sure that you actually write the word introduction, put it in bold, then you write the word background and put it in bold, and then you write the background, then you put in bold the theory, and then you write the theory, then you put in bold data, and then you get some data, and then you write in bold analysis, then you write the analysis, and then you put in bold the conclusion, and then you write a conclusion. And all of this is explained in the video on how to write a great paper, which I've put in both the syllabus, it's in the syllabus, as well as it is in the announcements in the first week, right? So you can watch that, and that's really what I'm looking for. The other thing that you really need to do is take a look at the Who Am I video, the one that's 4 or 5 minutes long, the one that has this chart in it. That's the one that you really need to pay attention to, because that's the cornerstone of this class, looking at how the social institutions influence opportunity structure, influences networks, small groups, and then the small groups shape the context in which you interact. That is the video you really need to pay attention to, all right? So let me just talk about the gun control paper for a second. One, I don't care about your opinion. That's all it is, an opinion. I don't really give a damn what your opinion is. Take all the guns off the street, or everyone should have a gun. It doesn't matter to me. I think all that discussion, in my opinion, is nothing but just that, an opinion that usually is uninformed. It typically is based upon what the people around us believe, or what they believe in accordance to the news, and you probably haven't really grounded yourself in any of the background. What I really want to know is take a conceptual look at gun control and frame it. You're going to pick some kind of theory, whether it's conflict theory or functionalist theory, maybe social disorganization theory, it could be symbolic interaction theory. In other words, what I want you to do is choose a conceptual model. And you have books that have the conceptual model in it. For example, this book right here, which is mandatory for this class, where are you? Which is mandatory for this class, has several chapters on firearms, right? And it was specifically designed, I wrote it, it's specifically designed for you to be able to do that assignment. And what I want is an analysis, right? I want something that says to the effect, either you do some kind of historical constitutional analysis, and if you do the Second Amendment, you got to be really careful, because the Second Amendment does not say that you can own a gun. What it says is if you belong to a standing militia. Well, who belongs to a standing militia, and what the hell is it? Okay, and if you actually read through the Second Amendment, it doesn't make any sense as far as the current contemporary era. Why were the standing militias allowed to have a firearms? It's because they didn't want the British to sleep overnight in their house. Well, you don't have that kind of threat. The British aren't coming to your house tonight. It's just, just the way it is. So if you look at it in a historical context, the Second Amendment is really up for debate. It's up for a serious debate. Well, should you be allowed to own firearms? That's up to you. Maybe we should take them off the street, but we know historically when you take all firearms away from the population, typically what arises in its place is a totalitarian regime in which there's full total control of the population. So maybe you keep the firearms, maybe you don't. Maybe instead of taking a look at the firearms, maybe what we really need to be looking at, if we're worried about lethal violence, what's the dependent variable? Are you going to do a social historical analysis of gun control? Are you going to do some kind of constitutional analysis? Or are you going to do a behavioral analysis? Because what I'm really interested in more than any of it, personally, is I'm of the school that gun sitting there over on that desk, it's not going to fire itself, right? Someone picks it up, and they either point it here or they point it there. They point it there, right? Well, I want to know, what is the decision-making process that this person in this context defined these parameters, these socio-cultural parameters, as suitable and acceptable to pull that trigger? That's what I want to know. I want to know, what is the process that you take to go from birth until this present moment that somehow we define this situation as worthy and mandatory to end someone's life, including your own? That's what I want to know, because if we start to ask the question in that way, it's a much different question. Because if you take a look at someone who kills somebody else, typically you have an alienated population who's shooting and killing an alienated population. So now we got to find out what's the root of alienation. Okay, but We don't ask that question. We don't ask what's the root of alienation. Here's the other question we don't ask. We don't ask the question, why is it when friends kill friends? By the way, when you take away unknown homicides, that is, where the offender and the victim, we don't know what the relationship was, okay? You take that out of the analysis. The number one category of murder are friends killing friends or acquaintance homicide. Well, what happens in that situation? Well, if we take a look at the number one category of homicide, once you remove the unknowns, over 50% of the people, both parties were under the influence of alcohol. So my question becomes this. What role then does alcohol play in homicide? What does it do in terms of the way that we talk to ourselves and the scripts that we read when we make the decision that the best option in this moment is for me to kill my best friend? How do we get there? Is it because somehow the alcohol is a social lubricant? It is somehow we have, and by the way, the other part of it is that 92% of the perpetrators are male and 86 or 87% of the victims are male. So why are we not having a discussion? We're always talking about, Second Amendment, baby, Second Amendment. Well, I want to know, why are we having a discussion of what it is to be masculine within society? And what does it mean when men are taught from a very young age to internalize their emotion? Because you know, when you internalize the emotion, over time, there's going to be a tipping point, and when there's alcohol involved, there's oftentimes an explosion. Well, I want to know, where's that coming from? Where is that pain coming from that someone has to fire and kill someone else? And by the way, once you remove friends killing friends, the number one category is husbands killing wives. What is the nature of that relationship in which the male defines that woman as the person who is the object of their hate? How do they deface and how do they go through a process of blaming that person for their own pain? How does that happen? It is a process that takes place, one, through childhood trauma, right? Because they were socialized into understanding these competitions between males and females. That's one part of it. Two, they've internalized their emotion. Three, typically they're under the influence of alcohol, and bang, all that anger, all that explosion comes rushing out in that heat of the moment. Why are we having that conversation then? You want to know why we're not having that conversation? Because as long as the political pundits say either we need to uphold the Second Amendment rights or we need to take all guns away, well, that dismisses everything that has to do with the patterns of crime, right? What is it about alcohol? What is it about masculinity? What is it about social class and social structure? What is it? And by the way, if we go one step further and take a look at social class and social structure, if we're really interested in guns killing people, if that's really the issue that we have at hand, then why aren't we talking about suicide more often, right? In a given year, last year there were 16,700 homicides, but there were 34,000 suicides, most of which, about 60%, happened with a firearm, self-directed, right? And homicide is 70%. 70% of homicides were with a firearm. Okay, so if we're going to take a look at it, then what is it? Why are we having more discussion about people who pull the trigger on themselves? What is the source of that pain? Why are people dying of opioids? What's the source of their pain? We don't look at the source of the pain. We don't look at the social structural forces. Instead, we'd rather say, what's in the criminal mind? Because as long as we focus on the criminal mind, we don't have to look at patterns. And there are definite patterns. If you want to do something about violent crime, which I've done 3 or 4 times in my career, I've designed programs for entire cities that has driven down the homicide rate by 50%. I did it here in Miami. It went from 19 to 9.5 in the matter of 4 years by implementing the program that we designed. Why? Because I'm not listening to what the politicians have to say. I don't pay any attention to what the news have to say. I take a look at numbers, and the numbers tell me the story. That's a vastly different thing to look at. Okay, so if we were to take a look at lethal violence and who's more likely to kill someone, even themselves, with a firearm, the highest rate of death by firearm are white males between 45 and 54. So do we really look at white males as the greatest threat to our society in terms of lethal violence? Or do we direct it towards the urban inner city as the source of lethal violence? Well, I know it's that. I know that's the answer. Why? Because I'm looking at the protests. I see the protests going on every single day. And what does it look like? Urban, inner city, minority. Right? And I'm not saying that those are justifiable. The Breonna Taylor case up in Louisville, because I worked at the University of Louisville. I know all these people who are there. And let me tell you what, that city is coming apart at the fray. It is descending in a horrible and violent way. Right? And I'm trying to, I tried to get back up there to consult on restructuring the program that we developed in 98 and 99, but They're just not buying it. So, hey, Jose. And so we take a look at all these things. What I want you to do is I want you to find some kind of angle, something that really has legitimacy when it comes to firearms. Because what I just did, right, was a social psychological analysis of the use of firearms, right? That's what I did. So, how are we going to do this? Let's take a look at it. When you go to write your paper on firearms and gun control, that's fine. But I want you to frame it. Go watch that video on how to write a great paper. That is how you frame a paper. You do your little chunking, which is your mind mapping, your brainstorming. You brainstorm. Once you do your brainstorm, then you come in and you do a little schematic diagram of the most important variables or the most important predictors, the most important factors that lead to a gun-related outcome. All right? I don't care if it's ownership. I don't care if it's homicide. I don't care what it is, Rob. It doesn't matter to me how you choose the outcome. All right? But choose something. And then, once you have your little schematic diagram, then you take the schematic diagram and you make an outline. Roman numeral 1, introduction. AB. Roman numeral 2, background. Constitution, history, gun-related violence. Roman numeral 3, theory. Social disorganization theory and violence, which you don't know that theory right now, so don't worry about that. But I'm just saying, throwing it out there as an example. Number 4, data on gun-related activity, whether it's homicide, suicide, whatever it is. Maybe it might even be the rate of gun owners who use the gun, right? We might be able to make the argument that as gun owner, because gun ownership has exploded in the last 10, 15 years, but the homicide rate did not. So is it the guns or is there something else that's going on? Well, figure it out and then write about it. So you pop in some data, then you do an analysis based upon the theory you choose, right? That's how you analyze or make sense of the numbers. Then you draw a conclusion. What does it all mean? And you put the headings. Introduction, boom, heading. In bold. Background, in headings, bold. Then you put down theory, bold. Data, bold. Analysis, bold. Conclusion, bold. And here's what's amazing, okay? And here's what is amazing. When you go to do this paper, the reason you don't have to tell me that I think this and I believe that is because the way you frame the paper is going to tell me what your opinion is anyhow. You understand? Because when you do a conceptual paper, you are conceptualizing it in the way you understand the topic. So you don't have to say, and please don't sit there and say, I think. If I see the word I, us, we, they, me, you, if I see all that, that means you're having a conversation. And if you do it, what that's saying is that you're not analyzing it. You're providing me with an opinion. You're holding the conversation with me. And that's the one thing I marked down. I marked down conversational language because we're not having a conversation. And if you really want to drive me nuts, say something like this. You should know. Who, me? Who, you, me, should know? Oh, okay. I think that you should study that. Oh. Just keep you out of it, all right? Keep I, you, me, us, we, they, all those kind of things. I think those are called pronouns. I don't know. I write books. I just don't know what grammar is. So, 1 or 2 pages. I think it's 500 words or 1,000. Don't worry about the word count, please. Give the paper life. Every research question that you ask, every response has a life, right? The length it takes for you to go from where you are today into your greatness is going to vary from one person to the next. Why? Because of the nature by which we give life to our actions. You're writing, you're going to give life to it. But what I'm really looking for is how organized are you? Build an argument, make it organized, right? So go watch that video again, and you're going to notice one of the things that I'd like for you to start with, all right? When you're looking at that blank piece of paper, okay, you need to come up with a way to start the paper, and here's how I always do it. All right, I say something like this. Let me see. Huff, Corzine, and this is off the top of my head. I haven't planned this out. Huff, Corzine, 1989, argued. What'd they argue? You start your paper with that. The name of an author, the year they said it, and argued. What did they argue? They argued that lethal violence is shaped by a stream of violence is, I'm not going to make it complicated, argue that lethal violence is an outcome of one's position within a stream. Okay? And essentially, what do they mean by that? What do they mean by a stream? So the next sentence is, what does it mean, right? They proclaim that forces of production and direction shape the expression of lethality for offenders, right? So I'm writing like that. I'm just taking what they say and I'm throwing it out there. Now, here's the key to the paper. Once you've written 4 sentences, because that's 2 sentences right there, right? Once you write the 4th sentence, here's exactly what I want you to say in the final sentence of your first paragraph. You say, this paper is, comma, therefore, comma, designed to analyze the relationship, and I mean exactly word for word like this, the relationship between, now you say what it is, between an independent variable and a dependent variable. An independent variable is the one that causes the outcome, and the dependent variable is the effect, right? I don't feel pain from a gunshot if I haven't been shot, right? I don't just say, oh God, oh, wait, I haven't been shot, right? You don't have the outcome without something to cause it. So my pain, if you shoot me in the arm and then I experience gunshot pain, it is the gunshot that's the independent variable and it's the pain that's the dependent variable. All right. So at this point, you say designed to analyze the relationship between, we'll just say economic forces, which are forces of production, economic forces, and the use of firearms in homicide. Boom. Done. Done. Now the whole paper is aligned. Because you know the rest of your paper is, the background is going to be about economic forces and homicide. Economic forces and firearm use, right? You might do some forces of direction, which is just culture. How does culture shape everything? But now you know exactly what you're looking for when you go to do your literature, when you go to do your research. You're looking at forces, economic forces and firearms, and economic forces and homicide. You could change it and make it suicide. You can make it lethal violence. You could do the suicide-homicide ratio. I don't care what variables you choose. I care about how you structure your work. That's the key. How do you structure your work? All right? Then your theory. Okay, if this is the theory that I'm using, and in this case it's a pretty esoteric one, so you don't necessarily have to do it, but this is stream analysis, right? You can choose conflict theory, you can choose functionalist theory, and there's other theories that you can choose from that are in the other video, all right? But there's theories for you to choose from, and I'll give you a list of them for next week, a list of other variables, a list of other theories that you can look up, because you're going to have to know them anyhow. But just for now, I hope you can see how the theory is going to shape the direction that the rest of your paper is going to follow, all right? Because now you'll talk about economics and firearm use. So your theory is going to be stream analysis. Then the data is going to be probably something with social class and firearms. Or you're going to do something with, I don't know, employment and firearms. I don't know how you shape it, because economic forces, you know, unemployment and firearms. You shape it, right? And then you come through the analysis. Evidently, according to the data, it is confirmed that those who swim in the same stream are much more likely to kill one another. Why is this? It's because routine activities essentially proclaims that those who are both economically disadvantaged and alienated are more likely to associate with people who are economically disadvantaged and alienated. Therefore, by coming in contact with persons much like themselves, anger emerges, and we see that people who know each other kill each other at the higher rates with firearms. That's an analysis, right? That's an analysis. In conclusion, then you draw a conclusion which is really a mirror image of what you wrote in the introduction, right? And what's the implications? The implications is that if it is true that where we're located in the stream impacts our use of firearms, whether it's other directed or self-directed, if that is true, that our position in the stream has predictive value in how firearm discharge is analyzed, then you can't turn around and say, crazy people kill crazy people. You can't go around building an analysis based upon structural forces of economics and culture and then turn around and say, yeah, they're nuts. Because the theory doesn't fit now, right? In other words, you want to draw a conclusion that is aligned and that is consistent with the rest of your paper. You do that, you're going to get an A. Okay? There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. It is how you build the case. And what I'm looking for, look, it's the same as I always say. I want to see you think for you. That's all I want. Because the more you own your thoughts, the more power you have over controlling your own destiny. That's critical. If you want to be the one in control of the remainder of your life, you've got to think for yourself. Don't worry about what I think. Follow that video, right? Who Am I, which tells you about the institutions. Then follow the video on how to write a great paper. And this is not easy, okay, everybody? I know this isn't easy. It took me 17 years to figure out how to do this. But I learned how to give it to you in an hour or in 30 minutes, right? Brainstorm, flow chart, transform it into an outline, put your headings into the paper, let the paper write itself. You're not going to write anything. I didn't write 60 pages in 8 days because I'm writing. I wrote 60 pages because I'm letting the book write itself. Everything has its own life. All you're doing is giving it hope, or all you're doing is giving it life. That's all you're doing. All right? So that's what I'm looking for in the assignment that's due next Tuesday. Now, I'm probably going to start, when I start grading, I'm going to grade with the assignments that are more academic. Those other ones were just practice, right? If you submitted it and it's moderately thoughtful and it has complete sentences and paragraphs, you're going to get an A, okay? So just sit back and chill. Now, if you're like way out to lunch and you're saying bizarre stuff and all your sentences are broken and you're constantly just talking to me in conversational language, you might get a B, all right? But these are the ones I'm more interested in because I want to see you develop your analytical thought, all right? Okay, are there any questions that I can answer for you? Let me see if there's any questions that I can answer. I hope this was helpful. Was this helpful at all? For anybody? Questions? For Mary Alice and for Radio, you're in corrections anyhow. Okay, go ahead. I don't have any problem with people crossing over from one section of human behavior to the other one. I mean, it doesn't matter because it's human behavior for me. If you're in social environment and you go to the other section, that's fine. Okay. All right, Sophia. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. I know I've heard a lot of people are confused with what's going on in these classes. And a lot of the confusion is stemming from the use of WhatsApp. WhatsApp should be for you to meet each other, to learn about each other, not to find out what's going on in the class. I have already written for you in the announcement boards, in the videos, and in the syllabus, everything you need to know about the assignments. If you have a substantive answer, you come to me, right? Because when it's due, it's already out there. All right, that's already in place. What's the content? It's already out there in the syllabus. All right. I won't answer any of those questions any longer because I'm protecting my health. However, if you have a substantive question, then that's different, right? Like, well, we'll figure out what that is later. Those are the questions I really don't mind answering. It's the ones that I've gone over and over and over, and then, oh my God, thanks for reporting me to the dean, you guys. I appreciate that. Oh, that felt good. My boss, the president, oh, he changed the times in which he delivers his live stream. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Like, this class meets at 5:40 on Tuesday. I didn't do this class, what, on Thursday at 9 a.m.? We did it now. So, I don't know. Anyhow, just pay attention to the announcements. Watch that. Make sure that you just pay attention to the syllabus and know that I'm grading based upon thinking, not about right answers and wrong answers. I want to see you organized and structured. You do that, you're going to be fantastic. I can't believe this was 35 minutes, but in any case, hey, I wish you luck. Do well. If you have a substantive question, hit me up on my personal phone. I don't even look at the HopeWorks phone anymore because I was so overwhelmed. I was just like, someone said, oh, you're getting spammed. Oh, is that what that is? Okay, I got spammed. I got spammed hard, baby. I mean, really hard. So anyhow, that's about it for me. Do you all have any questions that I can answer, or are we pretty good to go? Are we good to go? You see I move around a lot in this chair. You see me in real life, man. I'm all over the place. Okay. Well, everyone, it looks like we're pretty much done with this. This was just basically a coverage of the assignment. Please go through the other video. You're welcome. You're welcome, Mary Alice. Please go through the other video that has more substance. And it has a little bit of recapture of this. I mean, I did talk about the assignment in that. But go through it. It has more theory in there, more discussion that's pertinent to. And I talk about if death had a face. I talk about that very specifically. And actually, it was a fantastic discussion yesterday. So please feel free to jump in there and take a look at it. You can go back and forth looking at their videos, and they can look at yours or what have you. But hey, keep your head up. You're going to get through this semester. All of you are going to get through. I will start grading as soon as I get over the stress, my post-traumatic stress disorder, which isn't funny, I suppose, because I know you want your grades. The first 2 grades are done, right? You're going to get an A or a B. I mean, that's just the way it is. If you submitted and put forth any thought, you're going to be fine. Moving forward, just follow the instructions. Just go through what I just did here, and you're going to be great. All right? Y'all, I'm going to miss you. Take care. I will be in Miami next week. I'm coming in on Friday, and I'm leaving on Wednesday. It's very possible that I might pop up to campus for a couple minutes to get something out of my office, and perhaps we might be able to meet up. I'd love to meet some of you in real life. But in any case, y'all take care. Thanks for your participation and your support, and I wish you well. We're going to end it here. Have a great, great week or two.